Welcome once more to my video blog. So today I'm going to talk about hair removal, mostly permanent hair removal, and also hair loss, which are two things that can concern transsexuals, especially male to female transsexuals. So today I went to an electrologist here downtown in Montreal for the first time. It wasn't the first time I was getting electrolysis done, but it's the first time I was going to that place. I haven't done it in a fair little while. Some of you might think that I don't really need facial hair removal because I have no facial hair. Well, that's unfortunately not true. If you watched my video, My Life in Pictures, you've seen in my male pictures that I used to have a full beard. And well, all that facial hair takes quite a while to remove. It costs quite a bit of money, unfortunately, and I'm still not done doing that. So over the last 2 to 3 years, I've started doing permanent hair removal, mostly laser hair removal, and it's been pretty expensive. When you go to a laser hair removal place, they'll charge you for your face between $100 and $250. Mostly depending on what kind of equipment they use. The more modern equipment is usually more efficient, but also more expensive. So I've had about 15 sessions of laser hair removal done in total, and that still hasn't removed all of my facial hair. It's removed most of it though, maybe something like 90% or more. The thing is, when you get laser hair removal, it will kill a lot of hairs at once, or it will affect a lot of hairs at once, but it only really affects your hair when it's really dark, and it only works well if you have pale skin like me. But the problem is, the more you get laser, the more your hair will become pale and weak as a result of that, and at some point it's going to be too pale, too small for it to be affected by laser, and then the laser stops being effective. So going through laser hair removal, it's hard to really get all of your hair killed. And also the first couple of sessions, the first 8 sessions that I had in laser hair removal were at a clinic that used some pretty outdated equipment that wasn't quite effective. So I only got something like 50% of my hair removed, which might seem like quite a bit, but when you have a full beard, eliminating 50% of your facial hair still leaves you with quite a bit of facial hair, and obviously that's not very good. But it is possible to eliminate virtually all of your unwanted facial hair, given the time and money. Unfortunately, the amount of money that you're going to have to spend if you have a full beard is probably something like $2,000 to $3,000 in terms of electrolysis or lasers, because that's what you can expect to spend. It's a lot of money, but it's going to be spread over something like probably a year or two at least. If you're getting laser hair removal, typically they do it in terms of 1 session per month, or 1 session per 2 months. If you get electrolysis, it's going to be probably 1 session every week, 1 session every 2 weeks. Electrolysis costs less than laser per session. It's going to be between $20 per half hour to $40 per half hour, probably, depending on which clinic you go to. There's advantages and inconveniences, as I've just mentioned, in terms of laser hair removal. It's not going to eliminate all of your hair, you're still going to have some left. In terms of electrolysis, it will eventually kill all your hair, but it takes longer. It can take up to 100 total hours to remove all of your hair from all of your face. That means you have to spend 100 hours in total on the electrolysis table getting your facial hair tweezed out and electrocuted. So that's quite a while, and if you think that you're going to spend something like $50 per hour of electrolysis, you multiply that by 100, it's quite a bit of money. But it's kind of necessary in the long term, because if you want to become a full-time woman, you probably don't want to have beard shadow. Personally, I used to have pretty severe beard shadow, and furthermore, I have this problem that my skin is very sensitive, so I just can't shave every day. And when I used to have more facial hair, that was a problem for me because I hated having facial hair, obviously. And I couldn't shave every day because if I did, my skin got extremely irritated. And I also had acne problems. So, you know, the acne plus the shaving would just make my face a total mess. So I had to resort to shaving only once per week. That was pretty much the maximum I could bear, I found, to give my skin some time to heal. That kind of sucked, you know, because I basically always had an almost full beard, you know, almost all the time. I was freshly shaved, you know, 1 day a week. So that was kind of sucky for me. I really hated it. I really hated having a lot of facial hair. So that's why I started going through the facial hair removal, which for me was kind of one of the first steps of my transition. You know, I started it before I went on hormones because, you know, it's the kind of thing that even if you're a male, even if you're not planning to transition, you can get facial hair removal. Even if you're just a cross-dresser, why not do that? You know, if you hate having facial hair and you want to pass as a woman better, you can totally get your facial hair removed, and people, you know, shouldn't really bother you about that. In terms of the efficiency of the laser, I have to say that there's something interesting, is that hormones will affect the efficiency of the hair removal in a sense. In the sense that personally, when I got on hormones, I found that my hair became thinner and paler, and also grew slower. And having paler hair, I found decreased the efficiency of the laser hair removal. So I would say, if you're thinking of starting hormones soon, well, you probably better start laser hair removal first if you plan on doing that, because it's going to kill your hair better, more efficiently when you're off the hormones, and your hair's darker than when you get on the hormones. As far as the electrolysis goes, though, it's probably the reverse. That's true. You're probably better waiting until you're on the hormones, because then you will have less visible facial hair. You know, and you probably shouldn't strive to eliminate all of your facial hair in a sense, because everybody, even genetic females, have a little bit of really white, really tiny pale hair on their face that nobody can see, you know, really small blonde hairs. Those hairs, you know, you don't really care about removing because nobody can see them, and they kind of make your skin feel softer. So why waste money removing those hairs that don't really grow, that nobody can see, you know? I would think that for that reason, it's probably better to do electrolysis once you're on the hormones in terms of cost effectiveness. Although, of course, you can do it when you're off the hormones. It's going to be effective as well. So yeah, my advice, if you're planning to go on hormones, planning a transition, would probably be to find a clinic that has modern laser equipment, and start with laser if you're a candidate, if you have pale skin and dark hair. You should probably start with laser, do something like 8 sessions, and once most of your facial hair is dead, removed, then you should probably finish off with electrolysis to remove the hairs that laser just can't remove. Because after each laser session, the laser is going to become less and less effective. But personally, at the point where I am now, my facial hair is almost invisible. You know, I can shave my face and go 2 to 3 days without shaving, and people don't really notice that I have small amounts of facial hair, you know, sparsely distributed here under my jawline, and here around my mouth. For the most part, they're pretty pale, they're pretty small, so people don't really notice them much. And it's great for me because I don't have to shave every day. I can wait 2 to 3 days in between each shaving, and when I shave, it's generally less intense. You know, I don't have to go everywhere. I don't have to shave and do multiple passes to get a clean shave. I can only do one quick pass in the zones where there is facial hair, and then I'm done, and it's quick and it's pretty simple. And hopefully soon with electrolysis, you know, with perhaps 20 hours of electrolysis, I should be able to have it completely eliminated and have my face completely free of facial hair, which would be nice. But at this point, you know, I don't have any beard shadow anymore. So it's pretty helpful and helped me pass quite well, I find. So that's pretty nice. So that's the info I can give you about laser hair removal and electrolysis from my personal experience. I can also tell you that the place that I went most recently that's been the most effective for me was not actually laser. It was IPL technology, which stands for intense pulsed light, I believe, which is not laser. It's infrared light that they send at your face, but it's the same thing as laser. It burns your hair at the roots. At least that's the aim of it, and I found it to be quite effective. It's also in general slightly less expensive than laser, although that depends where you're going. Yeah, in terms of pain though, I can also tell you that I found laser to be pretty painful, especially around the mouth, on my upper lip and lower lip, and the region around my mouth was where it was most painful. It was actually quite painful. Every time they would send a pulse of light, I would have spasms that I couldn't control. So that was quite stressful, pretty painful, but it only lasts something like 15-20 minutes to do all your face, and this is the zone that's most painful. So overall, I would say it's pretty bearable. You know, doing that once a month for 15-20 minutes, not so bad. And also the pain only lasts, you know, for the duration of the blast of light, which is a fraction of a second. So I would say it's bearable. I personally find electrolysis a little bit worse in a sense, because the pain is not so bad overall, you know, but they insert a needle into each of your hair follicles and send a little electric discharge. And like I said, it's not very painful when they do that, but you know, the repeated application of the needle every second, I personally find that electrolysis, the longer it lasts, the more unbearable it becomes. And for now, the longer I can bear, at least like half an hour. But I've had it done for 2 hours at a time once, and I never want to do that again. You know, at the end, it really felt like it was a torture session. You know, like you're standing on the table, you're waiting, and you can't really think about anything else, because every second or so, you know, they're sticking a needle in your hair follicle, sending a discharge, and you don't really know when the next one's coming exactly. And I personally find it quite stressful. But then again, the pain is fairly bearable. And you can take appointments, you know, to an electrologist usually as short as 15 minutes. So if you're like me and you can't stand half an hour or 2 hours done, you can have half an hour or 15 minutes done 1 or more times a week. You know, if you can find a location that's practical, close to your workplace, you know, why not? Why not only do, you know, 15 minutes twice a week? If that's more comfortable. Okay, so that's what I had to say about permanent hair removal. Of course, if you have any questions, you can post them as comments, or you can send a message to me. You can also post a video response if you're interested. Yeah. Well, maybe you should mention one last detail. When you get laser done, usually your face will be red. My face was red for like an hour after the treatment, but it didn't seem to leave any real permanent damage, and about an hour after, my face would return to its normal color, and the next day was pretty much not visible. As far as electrolysis goes though, I find that the treated region remains red for a little bit longer, perhaps 1 to 2 days. Right now my face is a little bit red around my mouth. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I can definitely see it in the mirror. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage of electrolysis as well. But then again, it's not so bad, and I think you shouldn't put makeup right after you get your treatment when your skin's hurt, but probably the next day it's okay to put a little bit of makeup to hide it, and it's pretty easy to hide. Okay, so now that's really it for hair removal. I also wanted to talk about hair loss, because that's a topic that concerns quite a few male to female transsexuals. So the way it goes is you go through puberty, and most of us transition after puberty, unless you're really lucky. And during puberty you get flooded by testosterone, and it affects you. You know, it changes your facial structure, changes your bones, makes them bigger. It also makes you grow facial hair, and unfortunately it might make you bald. What you'll find is that most males will start losing hair, during puberty they'll start losing hair and balding a little bit, and this is pretty much inevitable. And this happens to all men. Some people think that only a few men bald, and to some extent it's true, but to some extent it's also true that all men bald. There are almost no men who have a feminine hairline. The hairline is what I would define as the point where the hair meets the top of your forehead. And on females you'll find it's kind of rounded like this, but on males the hairline gets pushed back more and more and more the longer after puberty you've been exposed to testosterone. And you can't really see it because my hair hides it, but if I lift my hair like this, you can probably see that I have lost a little bit of hair in this area here, and that my hairline is not particularly feminine. That's kind of annoying, because I can't really tie my hair back all the way. I can't do some of the hairdos that other women do because it would really make it visible that my hairline is not feminine, and that doesn't help you pass at all. So why am I talking about this? Well, one interesting thing is that when you get on hormones and you start taking anti-androgens, it will stop this balding process completely. As a matter of fact, it might reverse it a little bit. I personally have been regrowing a few hairs in this area, have a few small blondish hairs that have regrown since I've gotten on the hormones, and that's reassuring to me because I know I'm not going to bald any further. But unfortunately, I only started hormones, when I was like 22, and as a result, I've been balding for quite a few years since I was like 18. And that makes my hairline not completely feminine. And there are transsexuals who transition much later than me who have even more masculine hairlines. And that's really unfortunate for them as well. But again, why am I talking about this? Because there is something that you can do. If you are male and you are concerned about balding, you can consider taking an anti-androgen, even though you're not transitioning. That might sound freaky at first, but there are products such as Propecia, which is a low concentration of Proscar. It's marketed for men, and it's a pill that will basically stop your balding and maybe even reverse it a little bit. So if you're even remotely considering transition, I would strongly suggest that you at least get on something, like Proscar, 1 milligram per day. And that you stick to it, even though you're not sure if you want to get on hormones. You should probably do that because it's going to prevent you from balding. And the earlier you start, the younger age you start, the better this is, because the longer your hairline will remain feminine and the less risk there will be of you balding. Those pills, they're pretty safe, they're pretty mild in terms of side effects. If you take an anti-androgen like Proscar, 1 milligram per day, or there's other ones, like Finpecia, which is the generic version of Propecia, you'll probably find that your sex drive is probably not very much affected. It can reduce the amount of sperm that you produce a little bit, but it shouldn't make you sterile. It shouldn't stop your sperm production. So those things are pretty safe, and they're not going to feminize you, or at least they shouldn't. In a few rare cases they do, but it's like 1% out of 100 or something. So I would say they're pretty safe. And if you're considering transition or you're concerned about balding, you should probably talk to your doctor about those things. Any general practitioner, MD, can prescribe those, and it's pretty common. But most people don't know about them, and I've heard some stupid stuff. I've known a transsexual who had been balding for years. She was 32 when she finally started transitioning, and her hairline was up to here. And she had lost quite a bit of hair, and I told her, you should probably get on something like Proscar, Propecia, to stop this balding from going further before you get on hormones. And she told me that she'd heard about it, a few years ago. She could have started a few years ago, but she talked to her electrologist, and her electrologist was confused and told her that those products could make you grow body hair everywhere. And that is bullshit. That is not true. Products like Proscar, Propecia, they are anti-androgens. they will counter some of the effects of testosterone. So they will not make you grow body hair. As a matter of fact, they will make your body hair slightly thinner. You know, so they will not make you grow hair everywhere. That is complete bullshit. What will make you grow hair everywhere is a product called minoxidil. Or well, I shouldn't say it will, but there are products marketed under the name Rogaine that are meant to make you regrow lost hair. And these products have the potential side effect that they can make you grow more body hair, or they can make you grow hair, facial hair on your forehead, for example. So if you take products to try and regrow your hair, there are slight amounts of risk involved. I personally own some amount of minoxidil medication, and I've been considering taking it to try and regrow some of my my lost hair, but right now I'm kind of putting that on hold because I don't want to risk growing extra facial hair, obviously. But there are other options. You know, if you've been balding for quite a few years and you have bald spots, you know, that can be pretty big, you can possibly talk to someone about hair transplants. What they do in terms of hair transplants is that they'll take some hair from the back of your head, from your neck here, and they'll transplant it to the areas like here, where you're losing hair. And the hair that comes from here will not fall. It will not bald ever. So it's like a permanent way of fixing your hair loss. And it can fix pretty big patches of lost hair. They're pretty good. The problem, however, is that they're pretty expensive. You know, in some of the worst cases, they can charge you $15,000 of hair grafts. I don't know how much it would cost for me, but I suspect it could be several $1,000s just to fix my little hairline here. So I don't know. I might talk about that to some doctor at some point, but I guess I'll wait a little bit. Another option for lost hair, especially if your hairline is receding, like me, is you can have a plastic surgeon bring your hairline down a little bit. Basically, they'll move your scalp a little bit forward, and that will give you a slightly more feminine hairline. Normally, this is done as part of facial feminization surgery. And if I get FFS, it's possible that I'll have my hairline lowered by a few millimeters myself. Yeah, so there's many options for preventing hair loss, for regrowing or regaining lost hair. So if you're transsexual and you've been balding, or if you're thinking about transition and you're worried about balding, there are many options for you, and I think you should probably start thinking about them, because taking something like Proscar, you know, it's a pretty mild and pretty inexpensive way of you know, saving your hair. If you take something like Proscar, it comes into like 5 milligram pills, and you can cut them into quarters, and it should cost you something like $15–20 a month, you know, to prevent your hair from balding, which is, I think, an okay price to pay personally. And it has the benefit that you'll have less body hair also. So it's something to think about, because obviously, you know, we place a lot of value in society, in the fashion world, on the hair of women. So if you want to be a passable woman, it's important to have a full head of hair. Of course, if you don't, you know, there's many options. There's even wigs that are possible, but wigs are a lot of trouble and can cost a lot of money. If you wanna buy a nice human hair wig, you know, you can count something like $300 to $700 for the wig, and then you have to maintain it, and it's going to be damaging to your natural hair under the wig if you wear it constantly. So there's many negative aspects to having a wig, unfortunately. Although for some people it's the only option available, so it's good that it is available. But and it's pretty interesting for crossdressers too. If you don't want to grow your hair long, you can consider having a wig. But anyways, those are the things I wanted to talk about for today. I hope this video was informative, and once again, if you have any questions, feel free to post comments, feel free to make a video response to this video if you have anything else that you want to add on the topic, or feel free to send me a message. Okay, so that's it, people. Bye bye.